Welcome into the Wash Up Walkons podcast. Last time we left you, I told you that we would be talking again when the Hawks were 1-0. Guess what? I probably jinxed them. It was probably me. It had to be me, right?
I don't think it was you, dude. I wouldn't take this blame if I was you.
Couldn't have been any of the other factors that have gone into this year, but
couldn't have been the fact that they let the same kid, the only kid they had to worry about on the entire offense, score 3 times in the same game.
David Bell is good at receiver. Tweeted it at halftime. It's incredible that he is the second best offensive weapon they have. He is dangerous. We are going to get to the David Bell situation because that is kind of the topic of conversation of, potentially why the Hawks lost. What was that, Kev? I don't know what Kevin's saying. But a couple things. I want to go around the league quick and just quickly talk about the Big Ten. Illinois and Wisconsin led us off on Friday night. This was one of Kevin's bets, 51.5, and Kevin took the over. Kevin, never a doubt, right?
Never a doubt. Why would you ever doubt it? Never a doubt.
45-7. Game finishes with 52 points. You are lucky that the Illini could get a tutty in there in the second quarter because...
No, Kevin's just lucky the guy didn't miss the extra point.
Imagine one of the extra points was missed in that game. Kevin would have been fuming.
No, it was a field goal at the end of the game. That's what the deal. I saw some dude in the replies had the over at 52.5. And to that guy, I'm sorry.
Damn. Yeah, but part of the betting game is catching it right, which actually plays into my NFL pick for today. When I gave the pick for the Bills, by the way, repping the Bills. If you're one of our guys, I'll rep you. And that's what today's about.
And shout out the Bills. Ike Butker getting the first career start.
Let's go.
Earthman, congratulations. Love you, bro. It's about goddamn time.
Yeah, that's huge. Ike, we were talking in the past couple weeks, actually, I think before the season, and Ike was, everybody wants a chance. You need an opportunity, and Ike's getting that opportunity. He came in last week. Now he's getting the start, as Drake has just informed me. I'm wearing the Bills hat. I'm wearing the Manders t-shirt. If you're one of our guys, I'll rep you, and you make merch, I'll rep you. But the Bills were minus 13.5 early in the week, and if you want, you can get them today at minus 10. The line has been bet down. The money kind of on the
they're losing right now.
Are they?
Yeah, when I came up to do this podcast, they were down.
Okay, well.
To the NYJETS, don't bet the Jets.
Don't bet Jets. There's a lot of game, and I'm sure the New York, eventually they're going to beat the spread, right? But give New York Jets time. So Kevin actually, Big Ten returns, and Kevin goes 2-0 on College Saturday. Alabama takes care of Tennessee, minus 21. Not a problem, right, Kev? How do you feel about yesterday?
They took care of business, is what it is. I don't think Tennessee's that good. It's more of a bet against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I know I kind of contradicted myself from the previous week when I did bet on Tennessee, but whatever. We're not messing around with the SEC stuff too much more. It's going to be Big Ten from here on out.
It was a spite bet. Speaking of Big Ten, real quickly, let's just go through the other scores before we get to the Iowa-Purdue game, which was left something to be desired. They opened up with Ohio State and Nebraska. Nebraska looked like potentially they were going to be an issue this season for the first half. I believe it was 24-17 at halftime, or 24-14, 17-14, something around there. Ended up being 52-17. Ohio State was able to figure out Nebraska.
Did you see that Justin Fields had one incomplete pass?
Justin Fields, 20 of 21, 275 yards and 2 tutties.
Three touchdowns accounted for.
His running touchdown and his passing touchdown, the second one of the game, was a bullet. The dude's good. The dude is good.
Yes.
Nebraska, well, there's more to talk about with Nebraska. I think they're an actual interesting team. the one thing I noticed from them is they actually looked like they cared a little bit more than they have in the past couple of years. So,
Scott Frost is still their coach, right? I didn't miss anything.
yeah, he is.
I really do think Scott Frost is a good coach.
I do too.
And so I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. So if you give Scott Frost enough time with any group of kids, I do think he's going to do a good job, which is unfortunate to say about Nebraska because I still hate them and they're still a bunch of bitches. But Scott Frost may have it headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, this is an example of just giving it time, right? So many fan bases and people are quick to be like, all right, he can't get it done 2-3 years. I mean, Scott Frost pretty openly down in Lincoln has just been trying to run Mike Riley's guys out of town so that he can have his own players in there and then let him run and play. I think that Nebraska will be a tough game for everybody this year, except for Justin Fields and the number 5 Ohio State Buckeyes, clearly. Rutgers kind of put a beat down on Michigan State. Don't know if you guys saw any of that game, but Rutgers scored as many Big Ten.
I told you guys earlier in the year, it's going to be a fade Michigan State type of year.
Dude, they didn't want anything to do. I saw so many tweets like, oh, so this is why Michigan State was fully on board with canceling the season. I think those tweets have merit. Rutgers scored as many Big Ten touchdowns in this game as they did all of last season. So, wow.
That's just an insane stat.
Wow.
That is one of the best stats you've ever pulled on this podcast, Cliff.
I mean, Rutgers did it for me. I mean, shit, they had 28 points at half on Michigan State. Michigan State's in the toilet. The Spartans might be the worst team in the Big Ten. They might be the worst.
They're the new best. Dude, they just lost to Rutgers, dude. What do you mean they might be the worst team?
They just proved it. They didn't just lose. They got handled. And then the afternoon games came, which included Iowa, Purdue, Penn State, Indiana, which was one of my picks. I mean, Penn State, Indiana.
You almost had the sickest backdoor cover ever.
I know, right?
And you just found a way to just shit it away. Very, that was an interesting game, though.
Very, very questionable last play of the game. You know, who knows if
I think he was short, but there was no way you could overturn it.
Right. It's
one of those.
I think the ball hit the front of the pylon.
And here's what I thought about it.
Ridiculous effort out of the Indiana guy, though.
That's what I'm saying. Not only that quarterback, but this is what I saw. I don't know if you guys saw the coach talking to him after the game, but it brought me back to when Coach Ferentz talked to us after beating Michigan or after we beat Ohio State. It's hard to not be happy for a group of guys that get a win over a Big Ten opponent. I don't care if you go back and you're able to actually figure out if that ball hit the ground or the pylon first. Give Indiana the win. I mean, fuck. Who cares? They deserve that shit. And Penn State.
No, they played tough. They're a good team. I mean, Penn State should have won that game.
For sure.
I don't know if you saw like how many yards they outgained them by, but they had some pretty rough turnovers, and the guy missed a few field goals. I think they had 3 missed field goals on the day.
Jake Pinniger out of Ankeny, Iowa, teammate of my brother's when in high school. He had a rough day, and that wins the game right there. That's
when he's playing for the Penn State bitch ass Lions, he can miss them all. Screw him.
That's a t-shirt. The Penn State bitch ass Lions. I'd wear that. Northwestern murdered Maryland. Literally nothing more needs to be said. Maryland dog shit like always, and Northwestern, you know, it's hard to tell what they actually have, but you know, they passed the test.
I think they'll be a solid team. Getting Peyton Ramsey from Indiana this year, I think they'll be a solid squad. I think they'll help their offense a lot. They always have a solid D. Yep.
And then Michigan, Minnesota was the nightcap, and Michigan handled Minnesota a little bit. You know, pretty easy. Michigan looked like a good football team. Minnesota, they have some firepower as well. Rashad Bateman, their running back, Ibrahim. Their quarterback's obviously, you know, pretty good. But top 25 matchup, and Michigan takes care of business. Minnesota's not going to be an easy game when the Hawks find them later in the year, and Michigan looks to not be shitty. So what I'm getting across the board here in the Big Ten is it looks really, really even. Like it looks like a spread out league where like any game could go any direction. Purdue and that brings us to the Purdue Iowa game, obviously, which is what our podcast is about, which is unfortunate because we're on the bad end of this one. What initial thoughts? I mean, Ike said it in our text message yesterday. I don't know if this is just because of our personal history
affiliation.
If it's because we're getting further away from the program and it doesn't feel like our team so much anymore. I wasn't so upset with this loss. I can't pinpoint why. Obviously it hurt when Iowa, first of all, that last play of the game, absolute penalty on Nico. Refs are going to swallow their whistle 9 out of 10 times there because they don't want to change the game, but that's a penalty.
Well, and I mean, he threw into triple coverage. And if that guy's not even covering him, that's an incomplete pass still.
Right. Yeah. Right. But regardless, when that happened and they took over and they're going to kneel the game out, my heart hurts a little bit. That stings just like anybody else. But I got over it and went and ate Mexican food right after. And like, I just didn't feel this sense of like, I do really well at not carrying over my fandom and what happens in a football game to my real life. Right. And I think everyone should do that. If what the Hawkeyes do on Saturday affects how your week goes, then we should maybe, unless you're Kirk Ferentz or somebody in the program, you should probably reevaluate how much, like what your life really means, because you can't live your life with it being determined on like 18 to 22-year-old kids who play a game. But of course,
tell that to all the coaches.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. The coaches have a legitimate. They have a legitimate.
That's their livelihood, right there.
Right.
An 18 to 22-year-old.
And today they're legitimately pissed that a lot of their players played softer than baby shit.
Yeah. Let's start with the defense. And I got a lot of DMs and tweets. Not a lot, actually, less than I thought I would, about the David Bell situation. We're going to go to Kevin here because honestly, he's probably best equipped to answer this question. The overarching continuous theme from all these people asking was, hey, can you talk about why we continue to let David Bell tear our ass up and why we're playing zone and just letting him sit down in holes and why we aren't covering him man to man? And I don't have answers for this. And I don't know if you have answers, Kev, or
I do have an answer for you there. You don't want to cover the best receiver man to man. That's just dumb.
That's what I told. That's what I told the guy. I was like, yeah, that's what I told the guy. He's like, why don't we go man? Why do we never play man when we're just letting David Bell, their best player, sit down in wide open slots in the zone? I was like, well, if we go man to man, and this guy's tearing us up in zone,
and
think about what happens when we
put this out. Let me just go ahead and put this out there. There shouldn't be those nice big old holes in his own defense. That's usually because somebody messed up a route match somewhere. Somebody blew a coverage. So
let me ask you this, Kevin.
Those are not designed to be there. It's like, oh, you just throw the ball here and he's going to be open.
Yeah.
But yeah, go for it. What?
Barrington Wade filled in. Nick Neiman slid inside to play middle linebacker for Jack Campbell, and Barrington came in for the outside position. And from my perspective, and I didn't pay too close of attention to B Wade, I thought he played an okay game, even made a couple of really nice tackles. Obviously, at the end there, that last touchdown, he didn't get a whole lot on the receiver and let Bell just kind of slip in behind him. I don't know who has Bell there. How did B Wade play, and how much do you think did we miss Jack Campbell? With the shift of Neiman inside, what kind of effect happened there?
Yeah, so I mean, I thought Barrington played solid. Could have done a few things a little better, made some nice plays, like you said, had a pick. I mean, literally fell on his lap, but still a pick. That last play, that last touchdown, that was there. I think there was like a quick motion there or something, and Belton behind him was trying to change the call or something. I'm not sure what they were supposed to be playing, but him and Dane were not on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's why he's just sitting there wide open in the back of the end zone.
I think that.
Yeah. So I'm not sure who's at fault, but one was, I mean, one of those guys was responsible for him. Barrington was playing one coverage, Dane was playing a different coverage.
Right.
And, you saw that a few times throughout the game. You saw the one guy who was just all alone in the middle of the field, like 30 yards down, that thankfully got overthrown.
That was
Bell again.
We got lucky there.
There's a few blown coverages. I mean, you got a young safety back there, first game of the year in a weird off season with, you didn't get a spring ball. So you can't say that these are unexpected, but at the same time, these are errors that will lose you games.
Yeah, no, it's for real now. Like, hey, we're playing games, and regardless of the preparation, Purdue had the same preparation too. And I think the weird off season is obviously something to talk about for why some of these mistakes happen. But apples to apples, Purdue had the same weird off season. Maybe minus some racial disparity issues, but we're on the game field now. We have to make those adjustments. You got to know what defense you're in, what coverage you're in. I think one of the most frustrating things is that you see fans tweet about Coach Parker calling defenses where we just don't guard the guy. And I just, it's crazy to me.
I assure you that's not in any of their defenses.
It's crazy to me. These people think, and they may be just drunk people who aren't even thinking, they're just letting the Twitter fingers run rampant. But if you think that we're ever calling something where we just leave people open, you should just put the social media away. We have assignments in every defense. Like Kevin said, we got a little bit confused between two guys there, but someone was supposed to be covering David Bell on that last play.
Yes, I assure you that Coach Parker's like, and we're just not going to cover this guy, but we're just going to hope they don't throw the ball here, and we should be okay.
Maybe they won't. Maybe hey, we'll play 11 on 10, and we'll just totally outmatch them, and then we'll just leave this guy, and maybe they won't see him. Like that's the coverage we're going to run on this last play deep in the red zone, fourth quarter. It's not Coach Parker here. At least in the call, could you say that he needs to have his guys more ready? Sure. Again, young safety that we're trying to make calls, first game of the year. Defensively as a whole, I think Nixon played good. He got some penetration and did some damage at times. The defensive line as a whole left a little bit to be desired for me. Chauncey, I would have liked to see be a little better.
We had a hard time. We had a hard time getting pressure on the quarterback with just four guys. So that's something that makes it a lot harder to play defense in the back end.
And Kevin, would you say that oftentimes, and again, this is Purdue, who has for some reason has Iowa's number, almost specifically in the fact that they've been able to just be a step or two ahead with their passing game the last 4 or 5 years. But when you don't have that pressure up front, that's something that really digs into the secondary and the second level, and that step ahead that Purdue has. It's a lot easier to have that when the quarterback's sitting there and has time, right? Like that's clearly
for sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes playing offense a lot easier and playing 7-on-7. You don't have to worry about pressure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it always starts up front, run game, pass game. If you have a dominant defensive line, it makes playing defense behind them like so much easier.
Yep.
I'm not saying the defensive line played horribly. They did some things pretty well. Towards the end of the game, like halfway through the third quarter, through the fourth quarter, though, we were not doing a great job of stopping the run. It seemed our legs are starting to get worn down a little bit. What's the guy's name? Whatever the running back from Purdue.
Xander Horvath.
Yeah, dude's just a moose, and he was just carrying people at the end there. So
that guy is a legit moose.
That was disheartening to see.
That sucks because Purdue's rushing attack, while they've been great passing the last couple of years, they talked about it. They were the worst Big Ten rushing team the last season. They averaged 2.7 or 2.9 yards per carry last year.
And now they got Mark Wiseman Jr. back there just carrying folks.
I don't think they had a rushing game over 100 yards or a single player over 100 yards rushing last year at all. And game one, they come out and this Xander Horvath, he looks like Thor. Dude is just, he's a tank. He's a couple guys called him Mark Wiseman on Twitter. He literally looks like Wiseman, only maybe an inch or two taller. He was carrying dudes, and our defense did start to get tired. I think
let's not get it twisted. 1 second. Mark would still remove this kid's limbs and beat the shit out of him with him. But
I agree.
Just had to get that out there.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, as a defense, I don't know. I don't feel bad about it. I think Purdue is a good offense. I really do. But we didn't get, we held them to 24 points. That's not horrible. We need to do better.
It's not great. It's not horrible.
We need to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Horvath kid had like 120 yards rushing.
Yep.
It's not where I think they average around 4 yards of rush, which again isn't horrible, but our goal is usually around like 3.3.
Yep.
So I think we were pretty solid on third down until the last quarter. I mean, if you guys want to talk about this game, let's talk about the penalties. The penalties freaking killed us.
Yeah, I mean, let's move.
Even on that last drive, we had a face mask. We had a sack. Would have been like 2nd and 16 from their own 40. Instead, they get a first down. They're on their own on the 40 going in now. I mean, that's just a huge play in the game.
Yeah.
I think, what do we have? 10 penalties for 100 yards.
10 for 100.
That's the game right there. Yeah.
Coach Ferentz used to talk about 3 things. Now, obviously, the most important stat is points at the end of the game, because it doesn't matter what happens during the game. But if you want to look for indicators, here's 3 big things. Did you win the turnover battle? What are the penalties? Yeah. And that one wasn't bad. But we're going to get there when we talk about the offense in a second. How were the penalty ratios between the 2 teams? Really just how bad were your own penalties? And how did you win the special teams across the 4 phases? Penalty wise, we have, I think they mentioned it in the game, we have not seen over 100 yards of penalties for 2 years. And I would bet that if you go back through the stats, Iowa, the Hawks have not had 10 penalties or 100, let alone both, more than 5 times in the last 5 years or in the last decade. We're just not that team. Now, I sent you guys a message on October 9th, and I sent the screenshot of it this morning to the group chat. I said, let's see here. If I could find a prop bet on penalties to be more than last year for the Hawks, I'd literally put my savings on it. This was October 9th, so about 16 days ago. Drake responded, facts, and K Ward responded, putting my mortgage on it. So all 3 of us 2 weeks ago called that this would happen. I'm not going to put it on. I'm not going to put 1 game worth of data on off-season discipline. And we're not going to have that conversation yet. But if it becomes a pattern, it's going to be something that has to be talked about and speculated on as, regardless
and we're going to go right back to the most hated people in the world.
Yeah. And that's okay. Because if you, regardless of what Doyle did socially, yada, Doyle was an absolute stickler on discipline. What kind of things show up in a game when you aren't a disciplined team? Penalties, turnovers, lack of communication. Some of these things, again, 1 game of data, there's a whole shitload of other factors, like a weird off season and short prep and no spring ball that play into this. But if this becomes a pattern and Iowa ends the season as the most penalized team in the Big Ten, all these other teams had the same prep, and it's something that may need to be talked about. If you have 100 yards of penalties, 100 yards of penalties, come on. That hurts to even say. And we outgained them 460 to 386. Yeah.
In total yards. And we gave them 100 free yards of penalties. They gave us 21. So
20,
that's literally the difference in the game, right there.
That's the difference. Minus.
Think about it this way. We were net minus 79 yards, and a touchback possession starts at the 30, doesn't it, or the 25?
25.
25. So That's a 75 versus 79. That's a full possession. That's a full.
We gave them an entire possession
Yep.
on penalties. And here's the other thing. Let's move over to the offense real quickly before we wrap this up. We saw
By
fumbles.
the way, how pathetic is it that my CTE is bad enough I don't even remember where the touchbacks go?
It's a thing. It's a thing. And not only that, you were on kick return and then on offense.
That's why my CTE is so bad that I can't remember the shit.
Because you were on kick return. Which, by the way, let's talk about that real quick. Amir Smith-Marset, best all-time kick return in the Big Ten. Purdue knows this. We know this. We come out, and Purdue was jacked to the tits. I mean, they were licking their chops, ready to go cut down the best Big Ten returner ever. And Amir Smith-Marset, I'm not impressed with how he played the entire game and on a few of the plays, the effort that he gave. He got his ass lit up on the first kickoff, and I think it knocked his confidence down. The kick return team is a huge part of this, and obviously they're going to go look at the film.
Well, I mean, it's obviously not his fault. He had like 3 guys on him by the time he got to the 10-yard line. That's usually has something to do with the front line.
Right. And they're going to go look at it, and those guys are going to realize if we're going to let Amir be a weapon, we're going to have to work our ass off to open up those lanes. First game, though, first test, we are not the kick return team that we were last year. And that's going to be something that the Hawks are going to have to address because we were one of the best. We were the best in the Big Ten. Special teams wise, we have a punter. We have a punter. We've got a fucking punter, boys. He had 2 great 50-yarders to open the game. Then we were in the midfield, and I know we tried to get cute a little bit, and unfortunately, we didn't get a couple of the rolls that we were looking for. And sometimes you can't control that. But from it, just know that this guy has the ability to, when we want to, kick it 50. If we're back on our end of the field, we can kick it 50 every time. And if we get a couple rolls, we get lucky, which is more often than not in the punting game. When we're trying to get cute and put it in the corner, put it inside the 10, the 15, this guy can do it. And he looks.
For us to have a weapon as a punter, that's insane for Iowa football because the way that we play games, we really need a field position advantage.
Need it.
And having one with the foot of the punter is pretty incredible. So hopefully we can take advantage of that.
I'm really excited about Torrey Taylor. He was impressive in his first time out. Keith Duncan gets 2 field goals, 2 for 2. I think one was like 29, one was like 33. They're both pretty short. He bopped them through. PAT field goal unit looks good. So really nothing to talk about there. And then other special teams wise, our kick coverage seemed to be good. Kevin, you were a part of the kick coverage team for a long time. Basically since our senior year, we've been like one of the best kick coverage teams in the country. I think it looked like we had some guys that were juiced up and ready to go for that unit, and that looked good. And then Charlie Jones, transfer from Buffalo, is our punt returner. And I said it in the reaction pod that I gave to the Patriots.
He looked good. Man.
Yeah, I said it in the reaction pod. Other than quarterback, punt returner is maybe the biggest position where you have to go earn the trust of everybody on the team, because it's just you're out on a fucking island. And he looked confident. He looked like he has the ability to do something when it's set up right. And I was happy with him back there. It's cool to have a kid transfer in and win that spot. I like it.
Yeah, no, I think I did a good job. Fielded the ball, saved some yardage, and had one really nice return too.
Yeah, and that's like Drake just talked about. That's part of getting us some field position. That's going to be important. Now let's roll over the offense to finish here. I get absolutely beaten up in the Benton chat for wanting Spencer Petras to be good.
You guaranteed it.
No, I never guaranteed it. I never guaranteed Spencer Petras to be good. Every time I've talked about Petras.
We all want Spencer Petras to be the GOAT of GOATs.
And just because I'm the one who's been saying I think he's going to be good, I hope he's going to be good, I get destroyed for it. And guess what? He started like 2 of 7. Then he went like 12 of 14 to finish the first half. And no one said shit in the text message. No, it was like, oh, well, fuck. Now, as a whole first game, Spencer had the adrenaline of a scared zebra in the Sahara Desert running through his blood. He was absolutely juiced. But I am happy with I saw somebody say like, well, we're gonna need to see what the other quarterbacks have. What?
Chill out.
If I wish I could describe what it feels like to, in a real game that matters, have the ball in your hands. I wish I could describe that feeling, because that's something that I actually, regardless of how insignificant long snapping usually is, that is not something to take lightly. There is an electricity that you feel through your fingertips, and Spencer felt that yesterday.
There's actually a point in time in your career when you get the ball in your hands. I remember I got the ball against Northwestern a few times when I was like a sophomore or something, and I don't remember hardly any of it.
Yeah, you black out, dude.
You literally black out.
It's and so when I would run out there, Spencer runs out there and he overthrows a bunch of balls because he's got fucking live wire juice in his veins. I am happy. I'm not happy with Spencer's performance. I'm not mad about Spencer's performance and the potential moving forward. He can throw any ball lengthwise that we need him to. He showed that to open the game. Brandon Smith on a seam route down the middle. I mean, if we need him to throw it 80 yards, he might be able to do it. He seemed confident. I don't know. This is just you guys can interject, but he seemed to go out there and be confident, making some calls. None of his balls were really.
There was one time that it was like a 4th and 2 maybe on the negative side of the 50, but it was damn close to midfield, and he was trying to stay on the field, and Brian or KF sent out the punt unit, and Spencer like kind of rolled his eyes and shrugged his shoulders. I was laughing pretty hard.
Dude, I love that. I love it. I mean, it's better than him saying like, like his head down and timid and like being jumpy back there. He looked confident, just not refined. He needs to dial it back a little bit. Your guys' thoughts on Spencer for game 1?
I mean,
okay.
Like I was just gonna say, like made some misreads on some passes, made some unadvisable throws, missed a couple, but strong arm, good arm, and like you said, Derry, I think he has a good command for a presence on the offense in the huddle, making the right checks, and I think that's really, really important. So could just be some first game jitters, but like you said, didn't play great, didn't play horrible by any means.
Could have been better. Here's what would make a quarterback better though. Penalties tend to kill drives, little false start, holding, those kill drives. Fumbles, when you give the ball to the other team, that hurts the momentum a little bit, especially
causing fumbles on your own guy.
I mean, son of a bitch, Cole. God damn it, Banwart. I can hear
I
Coach
love the
Wallace.
Effort, but
great effort.
I love the effort, but don't go punching out the ball.
I mean, put his arm right in. I mean, textbook.
The guy looked like Peanut Tillman punching footballs out.
The defense. Coach Parker is going to throw up Banwart and say, "Men, this is how we fucking rip a ball out." All right, dude. I mean, that's how good this was.
Killing this kid.
And Cole, if I hope someone tells him this, dude. I love it, bro. Go get some extra yards for your running back, but call it unlucky or misfortune. son of a bitch. I mean, ball squirts out right to their guy. That hurts.
You know,
We're going
that was
in.
a great drive. I think that was like on the 15-yard line.
Yeah.
Our other fumbles, our second to last offensive possession of the game, like what, 6 minutes left at that point.
Go on a nice little drive there too.
We got a nice drive, gaining chunks of yards left and right. Got a nice little run. I think we would have been on the 30-yard line going in, and
man,
that's a game-changing play.
I mean,
game-changing play.
I mean, we lose
going
by
up 3 with the ball with 6 minutes left, going in, and you cough it up. We don't fumble that ball, we win that game. Yeah.
Fucking ball security, and these are the little things. These are the discipline, the basics, the fundamentals that Iowa football is known for.
I would like to see a little more. I would like to see a little more of like a Ferrari offense out of us because we have such insane playmakers.
Oh, by the way, we got a fucking Tyler Goodson Wildcat, if you didn't know.
And that's elite. But we need to do a little more off the play action, I think. Play action should work insanely well with how good our run game is and how good our playmakers are.
I'm gonna kind of contradict you there, Drake. I think, our base 2-back sets were the best part of our offense yesterday.
Killed it.
We were doing a great job running the ball in our 2-back sets.
Yeah,
we spread out things a little bit more. I feel like we weren't as efficient.
Did we try to do
No,
too
that's
much?
what I'm saying. Out of 2-back, imagine if we were running like 23B pass crosses and they think we're running downhill on them, like the back end's going to be super open and our receivers are some of the best in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Like, use the play action off those 2-backs.
Did we try?
Speaking of 2-backs, how about the new fullback? Big fan.
Oh my God. I don't know how he played. I thought he looked good on leading through. Pottebaum with his neck roll. I mean, he's a tank, bro. He looks mean. Drake, give me it. I mean, like, what do you got?
Listen, man, I didn't see all the game. I saw some good plays. I saw some plays that he's going to wish he had back.
Of course.
The neck roll is incredible.
Love it.
I hope the kid adds a little more eye black. And, I hope he shows me that he's the next in line of the 23B specialists.
I think he looked really confident too. Obviously confidence doesn't mean that you do everything right, but he was exciting to kind of just see. I mean, the picture that Iowa football media put out a day or two before the game of his mullet. He's an interesting cat, man. I mean, the fullbacks just never fail to be interesting dudes. And I think that guy needs a documentary. So offensively, it just felt like there was a lot there. I mean, Brandon Smith was so money, getting just 1 yard past the first down marker on several times and getting us huge third down like completions. I mean, Amir Smith-Marset was almost non-existent in the offense. There was
he got his targets.
He got his targets.
He got 5-6 targets at least.
I mean, as far as production wise.
Yeah, production wise, yeah.
And there was a couple balls where I would have liked to see him fight a little bit more. And not maybe look for that PI call, but it did almost feel like our run game looks so dominant at times. I mean, Goodson is insane, and Mackay and Ivory are like light versions of Goodson. They all kind of are, that 5'10", 5'11" build, and they all have good speed. Goodson looks like he's put on just a little bit of muscle, and he wants the contact now. I mean, he's ducking his shoulder, trying to run people over. The spin move and the balance to keep running. We better appreciate what we have in Tyler Goodson, number 15, because you just don't get those backs very often. You just don't. And
yeah, I mean, we're pretty fortunate. I think we got two really good. I think Mikai had a good game as well. He's a pretty special dude as well.
He's got incredible vision. I mean, he's
the fact that Kevin keeps calling him Mikai. It just sends me over the edge.
Kevin exaggerates certain syllables of words sometimes. Like, I'm pretty sure he calls Oregon. He just has these little shit that
it's an O-N at the end of the word, is it not?
It is, but that doesn't. Not every word in the English
How do
language
you
is
say? How do you
phonetic.
say the word on?
How do you say the word ton? How do you say the word ton?
Yeah, bitch. Good. Thanks, Drake. Thanks, Drake.
You're welcome, bro. And people say I'm an idiot, dude. You know how many people told me I'm a stupid?
Me. I probably said that at some point.
Yeah, well, guess what? Ton sounds like Oregon.
That's good. That's a good point. Anyway, back to it. Makai is the one who scored the running touchdown. I mean, shit. So we've got a rushing attack, and I think this is where people got angry is we didn't see Tyler Goodson in the fourth quarter. He didn't get the ball. And you can argue, you can argue till the cows come home. I don't really think it matters who was in the game. I mean, obviously Makai's the one that fumbled the ball, but Tyler Goodson was the one who fumbled the ball earlier when our own guy knocked it out. So it's not like there's the big enough difference to.
Can we get the message out to T Good to take off the forearm sleeves? Them bitches are slippery.
Yeah. I mean, they look swaggy, but like, you know.
Yeah, but you know what looks not swaggy when the ball's on the ground.
Yeah,
dude.
you're right. So, I mean, a lot of this offense, Spencer not being in rhythm and the offense just stalling at times, penalties and turnovers. Second half, we scored 3 points. You can't do that. You can't score 3 points in the second half of a game and expect to win. You can't do that. And we killed ourselves. But I think the potential is there. The potential is there. The offensive weapons are there. We can do anything we want. There was one play where I was like, holy shit, I've never seen this before in Iowa football. All of our main 1, 2, and 3 was taken, and Tracy ran a crossing route at about 7 yards deep, and he was like our fourth option on the play. And I was like, holy shit, our fourth option is Tyrone Tracy. Like, no offense to some of the guys we played with, but there was a time where, you know, that 2015 season where like we had Tavon Smith, you had Vandenberg running around. He got open occasionally. And then it was like receiving wise, where do we go? We've got all the options, and then you have a running attack. But here's the problem is we could be in for a long season potentially if we don't clean up the penalties.
Yep, I was just about to say the same thing.
We could lose every fucking game this season if we play like we did yesterday. Every game.
And our offense on the exact same day would have looked a ton different had we just have not put them in terrible positions with the penalties.
Yep.
So it would have been a different situation.
I'm excited for the potential. I'm worried about cleaning up the discipline because it's not, you know, sometimes teams are what they are. The 2014 team wasn't disciplined. It's not like we just could clean that up week to week. It's kind of an off-season culture. What kind of team are you thing? I hope that this was a one-time deal. But if we have 100 yards of penalties every game, the Hawkeyes are 1-7 or 2-6, and we fucking suck. But hey, if we get 4 or 5 penalties for 40 or 50 yards, and we win turnover battles, we could win every game on our schedule. So that's how I see it. That's game 1. We're 0-1. Keith Duncan, right before we got on this podcast, tweeted, your current position is not your end. I don't know, some shit. Like something, your current situation is not your final destination. And that's true. That is true. Everything's still in front of us. We don't even need to talk about the Big Ten championship. Shit, Penn State, they're waking up feeling the same thing we are.
Did somebody ship Keith Duncan the Philosopher's Stone or what?
I guess. He's looking for all of them. He's trying to get the glove. It is what it is. Hawks are 0-1. And now,
we did not beat Purdue by 1 million. And guess who put the house on the Hawks -4?
Yeah, and you know, I clearly spat out that over 53 when David Bell or when Rondell was still playing and their starting running back was still playing. I don't even know if it mattered. 53 didn't hit. Penn State -6.5 didn't hit. I'm 0 for 2 on the weekend. Kevin's 2 for 2. This is why Drake stays away from college games, and the NFL games are going as we speak. So,
and guess what? Drake was 0-1 because Philadelphia is now the new fade. It's fade New York City, and fade Philadelphia. And fade
Northeast.
Washington. It's just the Northeast, man. You can
You
bet
might want to
Buffalo.
fade the whole state of New York. You might want to fade the whole state of New York right now because Buffalo is losing to the Jets.
Jesus
Oh
Christ.
my God.
All right,
Dude, turn this podcast off
hey.
and burn New York to the fucking ground.
Yeah, guess what? Don't listen to us. We don't know anything about football. That's what we've learned. And hopefully the one thing that the Hawks know this upcoming week and moving forward is that they got to be cleaner. That's the name of the game. Hawks weren't clean enough. And a good Purdue team. I think a Purdue team that is officially, after the last 3 years, they have officially set their place in the Big Ten as someone who can beat
They've shed the Purdue nickname.
They are no longer Purdue. They beat Ohio State, who was highly ranked a year or two ago. They can beat anyone. They have the athletes to beat anyone, and the Hawks can do the same. But we got to play cleaner. We got to take care of the ball.
Gosh, damn it. It feels bad to lose to those guys.
It feels bad to lose. It's like when the aces don't hit. It's like when the aces don't come through.
Do we really need to get into that?
Nope. Drake had a bad night at the poker table just to cap off a shitty Saturday. That is episode 150 something of the Washed Up Walkons. The Hawks are 0-1, and Fat Fitzgerald and the boys are coming to town. They're coming to town, and they have a 40-point win over the Maryland Terrapins. And they're feeling confident. And if we do the same kind of shit, we're going to be 0-2. So that's that. We'll be back on Thursday to talk and preview that game. Hope you guys have a good week. That's it. Peace.